Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing about Jenkins, which is an open source automation server that integrates with a number of AWS services, something like an AWS code commit or code deploy, EC2 spot. So we'll walk through the process of deploying the Jenkins application, and we'll be using an EC2 instance. We'll set up the security groups, and I'll show you the steps how we go further. Let's click on EC2 so that we can go into the instance page. We need to create a security group which does allow access to SSH, to HTTP, and to the TCP custom rule. So if you just scroll down, under network and security, you should see security groups. Just let me scroll down further. There we have security groups. And you can see there are existing security groups, but we'll create a new one. And we'll name that web server and maybe Jenkins. So let me just cancel this first. What we will do is click on the Create Security Group button and give it a name. You can give it any name. I'm mentioning it as web server SG_Jenkins. And you can give a description. Let's copy the same thing for now. And make sure you choose the correct VPC that you want. And under inbound rules, you need to add the rules for HTTP, SSH, and a custom TCP IP rule. The custom TCP rule would have the ports 8080 to be open. So let me just choose HTTP. And yeah, okay, that is fine. You can give either a custom IP with 00 or you can give your network IP. I don't want to specify the IP address, that's why I'm giving it as 0.0.0.0. And for the custom TCP port, like I mentioned, use port number 8080. You can go ahead and click on the Create button now. So this will create a security group. You see that the security group is created. And now we need to go and launch an EC2 instance. So to launch an instance, you need to click on Launch Instance button. And I believe you're familiar with these steps. We need to choose one of the operating systems or an AMI. Let's choose on the free tier operating system. I'll choose Amazon Linux AMI 2018.03. I'll just click on Select. And let us choose T2 Micro because that's the only one under the free tier. Yeah, now just make sure that the instance or the VPC is correct. Click on Review and Launch. And remember you created a security group. Click on Edit Security Groups here and choose an existing security group. Choose the security group that we just created and click on Review and Launch again. And now things are good to go. You can just click on Launch. You can either use an existing key pair or create a new one. I'll be creating a new key pair as of now. I'll just name it New Jenkins AWS. And I'll download the key pair. This is a Linux box, so we need to download this and then convert this to a PPK file to connect to the EC2 instance, the Linux instance that we just created. I can just give a name here for this particular instance for easy reference. I'll just put it as AWS Jenkins_server and click on the tick mark option. And we see that the server is in running state now. Do make a note of the public IP or the DNS. Let's put it in a notepad file. Because we'll be accessing the Jenkins server using this particular name, host name or the IP address. And as you may be familiar that to connect to Linux EC2 instance, we need to use the username as EC2-user. That's the reason I mentioned that on top. Let me make a note of the IP address. I'll just copy it. Okay. The instance ID is also being copied just in case we use it in future. Okay. So we made a note of few things. In order to connect to that particular instance, you can see the steps mentioned here. It's using the PuTTY client. So I'll launch the PuTTY gen first, and from this PEM file, I'll create it as a PPK file. Let me just get the file, the PEM file. It's under downloads. Let me just scroll and check for the file. Okay, and all files, I'll see the file that I just downloaded. Click on OK and make sure RSA is chosen. Click on Save Private Key. You can give it the same name that we've just created for the PEM file. So I'll name it as new Jenkins AWS.ppk. And I'll just save it in a particular location. So this is the file that we'll be using to access the particular EC2 instance. So I need to add this under the PuTTY console. So the username would be EC2-user and then the machine name, which we just copied. That's the public DNS name. So just copy this and add it under the host name. Make sure port 22 is selected. And under connections, if you go to SSH and then auth, you can just browse and choose the PPK file. Yeah, the one that we just created from the PEM file. So it's under downloads. Okay, and you can click on launch, or you can just go ahead and save this in case you want to add this every time. You can just choose that. Click open. Ignore that warning, click yes, and we see that we are now connected to the EC2 instance. It's the Amazon Linux server. Now what we'll do is we'll verify that the software packages are up to date. So I'll just run this command sudo yum update -y so that I don't have to give in the yes option when it prompts me. So let this complete. Once this is done, we'll be adding Jenkins repo file. It's a lengthy command to execute the Jenkins repo command. So I've made a note of all those commands onto a text file. You can just see that. So it's an easy thing to do, and you avoid any errors that come along. So just run the command sudo wget -O and then the path. I'll just clear the screen and execute the command. Okay, once this is done, we need to import a key file from the Jenkins-CI to enable the installation package. So that's the command sudo rpm -import and then the path. That's the Jenkins IO key path. And post this, we'll be running the command to install Jenkins. That's sudo yum install Jenkins and -y. If you don't give the -y during the installation, it'll ask you for certain questions. You need to either say yes or no. So let this installation go on. It does not take too long, maybe another 1 or 2 minutes. Once that is done, we need to start the particular server, the Jenkins server. So use the command sudo service, then the service name, and then start. So since the service is Jenkins, we'll be using Jenkins there. Okay, this is about to complete. The total size is around 74 MB. Fine. So this completes. Just let me clear the screen again. And let's try starting the Jenkins server now. You may encounter this particular error where you may see something that the Java version is not compatible or on a lower end. What you need to do is you need to manually install the latest version of Java or JRE. I've made a note of those steps as well. You can just check the current version first, Java-version, and it's 1.7. I think we'll need 1.8 as mentioned in the above error. Jenkins requires 8 to 11. So if you just scroll down, you can take the URL from any website, but you can use the wget command to download Java JRE. I'll just execute this command, let it download. Once this is done, we'll be installing it, and post that we'll try again starting the Jenkins server. Yeah, sudo yum install -y, and that is the version that we just downloaded, JDK, the version 8, and that's for an x64. That's the 64-bit. This doesn't take too long. There are the few steps in future which in the coming steps which will take a bit longer. So this is about to complete now. Just clear the screen again. And I'll execute the command to install the particular package, the JRE package. We can again check the version and try starting the service now. Java-version. And we see now it is 1.8. Earlier in the output, if you check, it was 1.7. Let's scroll up. What was the version? Yeah, that was 1.7. So we are good there. Let's try starting the service now. And there we go. So the Jenkins service has started now on this particular EC2 instance. Now let us go ahead and try connecting it using our browser and then do some basic configurations for that. So you remember we've made a note of the DNS name or the public IP address. Just copy that and try accessing that on the browser using the HTTP and use port number 8080, the one which we referenced in our security group. So let's try accessing it on a web page, and we see it's asking us for a password. So this particular password is stored in the location mentioned above, var/lib/Jenkins. So you can just go ahead and check that. Just clear the screen once, and you can just print the output of that particular file, and you can make a note of that password there. So this is the password that we need to key in into that web page in order to log into Jenkins and then further configure it. I'll just make a note of that here and just copy it from Notepad and go ahead to the web page and key in the password. Continue. And we see the page is loading. Click on the install suggested plugin. This particular step would take some time for the installation to complete. You see there are different items mentioned, something like a folder or an OWASP, build timeout, and you can see the progress bar showing the status of what is the state of the current installation. You would see what's going on the right hand side under folders, and you can see the other things are in process, whereas the first one folder is done, the OWASP thing is also done. So this does take about 2 to 6 minutes to complete the entire installation. We're pretty much nearing the end of the entire video, because this was the main step. Anything that we need to do while launching the EC2 instance and then having it set up so that we can come to this particular page. And once you are able to access the Jenkins page, then it's all how deep you want to go in and further configure it. We've seen it's almost maybe 35% complete. This does not take any particular order, it just kind of completes anything that's going on. So if you see on the screen, you have the Git has completed, the mailer is completed, another 3 to 5 items remaining. The last few, I believe, now. You just need to make sure nothing goes wrong in here, and in case you have some errors, then we have to troubleshoot further. Usually you shouldn't get any problems you should not get any problems in this particular phase. Okay, so you can just give in the username for your administrator. So this is the first admin user. Let's give it as administrator itself, and make sure you remember the password that you give. This is the user through which you will be able to manage anything on Jenkins. You can just give a full name as admin and an email address. I'll just put it as admin@admin.com, and I'll click on save and continue. This is the URL if you want to access Jenkins. This is the same thing that we used. It's HTTP along with your DNS name of the EC2 instance, or the public name basically. Make a note of it if just in case you want. And so Jenkins is ready now. The setup is complete and you can start using Jenkins now. There we are. We are on the console page or the dashboard page of Jenkins. Here you can play around with this particular tool and work further on this. Maybe something like go ahead and manage Jenkins, and then something on the plugins part. You can add on the Amazon EC2 plugin. You can click on available. So those are the available plugins. We need the EC2 instance plugin. So you can just choose that, and maybe you can search. Or you can just scroll down if you don't want to search. Just put on Amazon and then search if you find it. Or maybe you can put it as Amazon EC2 to get a lower number of results in the search. Let's change it to Amazon EC2. Okay, we have there. the plugin integrates with Jenkins. Yeah, just click on that one and then click install without restart, and let this installation go on as well. This will also take somewhere around close to 2 to 3 minutes to complete. You see certain steps have already been completed, which is marked as success. It's installing the plugins and upgrades. There is one process which would take a bit longer. Yeah, the Amazon Web Services SDK part, that takes some time, and the other two options are pretty fast in completing. We can see the progress happening there, and also a blinking sign which mentions it is installing. So basically, it's not a very lengthy process to go ahead and set up your Jenkins server on AWS. If you follow these particular steps, you should be set. So we see now everything is done. You can just click on go back to the top page, and you can go ahead and further kind of manage or change certain things here. If you want, you can just go and click on configure system and do further configurations to set up a new cloud. So you can just scroll down. Just click on configure system first. Scroll till the end and you'll see an option for cloud, where you can click on add new cloud, and that will be your Amazon EC2 instance. You can go ahead and choose the desired options that we require. Just give it a name, and under the manage, just choose Amazon EC2 there. AWS credentials, okay. Yeah, you can just, so you'll need an IAM user. You can just give the access ID and other details for that particular IAM user, and you should be good to launch this particular server as Jenkins server. This is all in this particular video. You can just play around with with these options available here. And just as a note, if you're not using any particular EC2 instance or any Amazon service as such, the recommendation is to go ahead and kind of terminate it so that you're not being charged anything. You can just click on that particular instance, and under instance state, you can go ahead and just click on terminate or stop, depending on what your requirement is. But I would rather recommend terminating it if you're not using it. That's it from my end on this particular video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.